What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the Pittsburgh Penguins as we continue our season preview series. Will the Penguins get into the playoffs next year? And the key word today, truculence. Truculence is the key word in Pittsburgh today, so we'll be going over that right now. So, looking at some of the guys that left the Pittsburgh Penguins and some of the guys that they brought in, there really wasn't much action in Pittsburgh. And I don't know if I should be worried about that or what. I don't really know what to think of it. They move out Brandon Tanf in the expansion draft. Probably not the decision that they wanted to make, but that's kind of how everything fell with the expansion draft. They knew they were going to lose a good player, but better than losing Jared McCann, right? And they picked up Philip Hallander. Again, a good move there. They lose Cody Ceci. I'm sure a lot of Penguins fans aren't sweating the loss of Cody Ceci and the massive contract he signed in Edmonton. Probably a blessing for the Pittsburgh Penguins in the long run. I don't think you guys are too worried about that. Look at some of the guys they did bring in. Like I mentioned, Philip Hallander, who they acquired in the trade from the Leafs, which Kyle Dubas, what are you doing? You traded Hallander and a draft pick for Jared McCann, which Jared McCann was selected in the expansion draft. Anyway, so really not a great move there. Not great calculation there by Dubas. Hey, I don't think the Penguins are going to be too worried about that. They bring in Hallander, who could make the lineup this year. You have Brock McGinn, who they acquired from Carolina via free agency. I thought he was a good player. I'm really surprised that Carolina didn't want to give him the money he wanted. Again, they're going a little cheapo this year, so we'll see how that works out. And Dan Heinen, who comes in from the Anaheim Ducks, who... he's kind of been bouncing around. He was in Boston, got traded to Anaheim in the Danton Heinen, Andre Kasha, Nick Ritchie deal, that whole fiasco. Danton Heinen was a part of that deal. So now he goes to Pittsburgh. And I think, again, he adds that little bit of sandpaper and truculence that we know that the Penguins wanted to add this year. Now, looking at their top point producers last year, no surprise here, Sid the Kid Crosby led the way, 62 points. Jake Gensel, Letang, Rust, McCann, who is no longer there, Kasperi Kapanen, Evgeny Malkin, Teddy Bluger, Jason Zucker, Brandon Tanf. Those guys, CC, Tanf, they're both gone, and McCann. But other than that, you have some of the same guys. Looking at your forward group, Gensel, Crosby, and Rust, that's the same. That's not going to change much from Mike Sullivan's group in Pittsburgh. And then you look at their second line, Zucker, Malkin, and Kasperi Kapanen. Not going to see much change there. And then their bottom six is a little bit interesting. You have guys like Brock McGinn, Jeff Carter, and Danton Heinen, who some of the new additions in Pittsburgh were right there on the third line. Zach Aston Reese comes back to Pittsburgh. Teddy Bluger and Evan Rodriguez is your fourth line to round things out. Teddy Bluger actually had a pretty solid playoffs and end of the season with the Penguins last year. So good stuff there. Now, this is where things get a little interesting. We're going to see just how good the Penguins defense is. You have Brian Dumoulin and Chris Letang as your top pair. Michael Matheson, and John Marino on the second pair. Then the third pair is actually pretty good. Marcus Pettersson and Mark Friedman is actually turned into a pretty solid player. He mentioned this offseason in an interview. He said, being around guys like Letang, Malkin, Crosby, maybe giving him a little bit of tummy tucks. He's a guy that is kind of seeing what it's like, the culture in Pittsburgh, and I think he's learning from those guys, and I think it's a good add. Now, looking at the goaltending, you have Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith, and I had to scratch my head a little bit because the fact that this is the tandem that they're going with once again, with all the criticism they took through most of the season and in the offseason when they pretty much got highlighted by the Islanders in their playoff run, we're going to get an idea of where they stand. And I don't really know what their solution was. Did they make some goalie coaching changes? I don't know what they did to change the tandem from last year because it's the same players, so they had to have done something behind the scenes. I don't know. Or did they think adding a guy like, they didn't even change their defense. So, yeah, I have some questions about that, but okay. Now looking at some of their depth, you got guys like Drew O'Connor, Samuel Poulin, that are going to make potentially a name for themselves this year. Anthony Angelo could jump in there, Michael Chaput, Philip Hallander. And then on the defensive side of things, Juuso Ricola, probably not going to see him again. Taylor Fedun, Will Riley, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who they acquired from Arizona. I think he could be a guy that gets in there at some point. So they've just got some different guys there. They have $100K left in their salary cap situation, so don't expect them to do much there. But this is a team that has draft picks. They have all their first and second round picks for the next 3 years. So they're a team that's going to be maybe timid this season. I think that's what the situation is with Hextall and Burke. I think they're going to wait to see what happens this year. They don't want to blow something up that they don't know what they have yet. So I think they're going to wait a non-COVID regular season, see how things play out, see how things look in December and January, and reevaluate going into the trade deadline of what you want to do. And from there, you can make some decisions. And I think that's what we're going to see the Penguins do, because this is a team that could blow things up. But again, when you've got Malkin and Crosby there and Letang, you've got that core still there. Do you want to blow it up while they're still there? You still got one more year left on Gino. So maybe they decide this year, if things don't go well, either you keep Malkin or you move him or whatever, but you're going to decide all that this offseason next year. I think the Penguins were very quiet this year, but I think we're going to be in store for some big fireworks in Pittsburgh next year. So with that said, do the Penguins get into the playoffs this year? I'm timid when I say that, because you look at some of the teams. I think the Flyers get in. I think the Rangers could get in. Carolina's going to be right there. The Islanders are going to be right there. That's 4 teams right there. And I'm not even talking about Washington. I mean, this is going to be an interesting division. But I'm going to sit here and say, with Malkin, with Crosby, this is the year that Pittsburgh will fall off. And I know a lot of Penguins fans are not going to like me for saying that, but I think certain teams around them have gotten better, and they're not going to be shielded by teams like Carolina not being in there. I think teams like the Rangers have gotten better. They're not going to have easy wins against the Devils. This is going to be the year that I think Pittsburgh calls it quits, and I think Malkin could be heading to Russia this offseason. I think he'll stick it out one more year in Pittsburgh. Maybe he gets traded at the deadline and he moves on to Russia and calls it a day. I don't know what's going to happen with Malkin, or I don't know what's going to happen with Crosby and Letang next offseason. Maybe that's when we see this talk about maybe them going to Montreal or something crazy then. But I think this is the year that Pittsburgh does indeed fall off. I don't like their goaltending. Their defense isn't solid enough. And they just didn't add enough from the team last year that got kicked out in the first round. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm sure some of you diehard Penguins fans will disagree with me, whatever. Say the Mets suck, why are you wearing a Mets hat, whatever. Let me know your thoughts still in the comment section down below, because we can have a debate. I think there's a debate to be made that the Penguins can indeed make the playoffs. I wouldn't bet money on them making the playoffs, but I would potentially bet money on them missing, because I just don't think they're doing what they need to do right now. I think they're a team that just is kind of wait and see right now, and I think that's going to hurt them for next year. So let me know what you guys think, and if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and a bigger subscribe down below. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.